Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings. We air this program every Wednesday at 1 p.m. and we bring it to you from Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I'm going to introduce a song and its band or singer, whoever sings it, whoever performs the song. So I will introduce a song to you as well as the band that sings the song. We'll talk about the band a little bit, just some of their background. Then we'll discuss the song a little bit as well. After that, we will listen to the song, and then we will get into part two. Part two of the program, we will actually go over the words of the song, which are known as the lyrics. We will go over the lyrics of the song, and we will talk about anything that may be difficult to understand. Any difficult vocabulary, slang, any sayings that might be in there that might be a little bit hard for a non-native English speaker to understand. After that, we will have the latest news and updates from the university as usual.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray. I am a teacher here at Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be your host for the Musical Musings program today. For today's episode, we are going to be doing the song Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi. Now, as far as Bon Jovi is concerned, that's the name of the band, but it's also the name of the lead singer, and it's his real name, sort of. His name is John Bon Jovi. The way he actually spells it in real life is not spelled the way the band name is spelled, the last name. The name of the band, Bon Jovi, is spelled Bonjovi, 2 words. It's actually his last name. It's all one word, and it is not spelled that way. It is spelled a little bit of a weird way. I think it's probably an Italian name, given the way it's spelled and the way it sounds. It's Bon Jovi, so probably an Italian name. But I'm not sure about that. I don't know his heritage. So anyway, John Bon Jovi, he is also the lead singer of the band. He started the band in New Jersey, in the USA, and the band formed in about 1983. They had their first album, which was also called Bon Jovi, in 1984. And they became famous pretty quickly because that first album had a song on it which was already a little bit popular, at least regionally in that area. That song was the song Runaway. And you may wonder, well, how could it have already been popular before then? That's their first album. They just formed in 1983. And it wasn't really a cover. A cover is when a band does another band's song. So it's not some song that was done by some other band. Well, again, it sort of was. Someone had to do it, right? If it was already popular. Well, Bon Jovi had written the song and performed it kind of as a solo artist before the band formed. I say kind of as a solo artist because, of course, there were other musicians that joined in with him. But for the studio recording of it, they just sort of gathered in various really good musicians to do the song in the studio to record it. So it was already somewhat of a hit. Like I said, it wasn't a huge hit. Nobody really knew who Bon Jovi was outside of that region, which was New York, New Jersey area of America. It was his first song, so Nobody was very well aware of him beyond that area. But still, that's a pretty big area, right? New York, you got New York City there, New York, New Jersey, pretty big area. So it was already a little bit popular. And so when they had the whole band together, they had the backing of a record label, all of that stuff, real band puts out this full album with this song on there. It became popular quite quickly. It also helped them out that when they were performing early on in their career, they had some good luck of being the opening artists for some pretty big bands. They were the opening artists for the Scorpions and for Kiss, who are two very hugely famous bands. So Bon Jovi got a lot of exposure from that. Exposure means that a lot of people will see you. So they got a lot of exposure from being the opening act for the Scorpions and for Kiss. So that also helped them really gain in popularity. Excuse me. So Bon Jovi was pretty huge, especially in the later part of the 80s after they were no longer an opening act for the Scorpions and Kiss. They were already getting pretty popular in the mid 80s. As I said, they had their first album in 84, had a pretty big hit on there. So they were already getting popular in the mid 80s. But the later part of the 80s, they were really popular, and also into the 90s. Now, their popularity has waned a bit over time. That's typical of any band, right? I mean, they're starting to get older. The guys are starting to get older, right? Since they formed in 1983. That is what, 40 years ago? So obviously they're starting to get a little bit older. They're not that old because they were pretty young when they formed. You hear of some bands like the Rolling Stones who are almost 80 years old now, and I haven't heard of them performing lately, but I know they have not counted out the possibility. They have not done like their final performances. Like we did see that from Kiss recently. They did their last tour. So these guys aren't that old. I believe Bon Jovi is probably somewhere only around his early 60s. That's probably still old for a lot of folks out there, but really, compared to some of these groups that we talk about, because we like to talk about older groups on this program, that's not that old. So they're still performing today, but yeah, older performers like that, they tend to kind of lose some of their popularity. So they are less popular, but they are still quite popular. Anyone who likes music, if you're in that culture, like the Western culture, especially in America, you see a picture of Bon Jovi, you know exactly who it is. Even the way he looks now. I mean, he doesn't look that much different. He cut his hair from way back when, but he doesn't look that much different. So you see a picture of Bon Jovi, you know who he is right away. Okay, so they are still active, and they are still popular. And they've been around quite a long time, like I said, about 40 years. So pretty big band. All right, so the song we're going to do from them today, and they have a lot of big songs because, like I said, they were really popular, especially in the later 80s into the early 90s. Really popular. Have a whole bunch of big songs. We already mentioned Runaway. That was probably their first hit. The one we're going to discuss today is called Blaze of Glory. It is perhaps my favorite song of theirs. It is certainly not their most famous song. Not even close to it. They have, at the end of our program, as I like to do, I will mention some other songs by them. So we'll talk about some of their other songs. And a lot of the other songs that I'll mention are bigger than this one, but it happens to be one of my favorite songs. So I thought we'd do it for the program. It is, again, it's Blaze of Glory. Okay, we usually explain things that are hard to understand in the second part, but let's talk about that saying. That's a saying in America. We don't usually just say it like that. We don't just say Blaze of Glory. We say going down or going out in a blaze of glory. Sometimes someone might say with a blaze of glory. We usually say in, and in the song, I believe they do always say in, and that is the correct way to say it. So what does that mean? So going down or going out. So that means you're dying, you're losing, you're not going to be successful at whatever you're doing. But to go out or go down in a blaze of glory, what that means is that while you are losing, you are really making an impact. I'll give you an example. Let's say it's like a wartime situation. Okay, so you're stuck there. All the rest of your team has been killed. You're there by yourself. The enemy's coming towards you. You managed to kill 20 of them before they kill you. Well, you still got killed. But if you're in a war against someone, 20 of them killed versus one of your side killed, that's probably something that you would be okay with. I mean, maybe not you personally, since you're the one dying, but just in general, in a war, if you can really do that much damage to the other side with so little damage to your own side, that's a good thing. And so that's what it would be like to go out in a blaze of glory. So this person, even though they're losing their life in the war, they take out a whole bunch of the enemy before they get taken out. So that's kind of what that saying means. It means you really make an impact before your story ends, whether it's losing a game or losing your life. You really make a big impact before it ends. All right, so that's what that saying means. This actually, technically, is not a Bon Jovi song. It's a John Bon Jovi song. Well, what do I mean by that? John Bon Jovi is the lead singer of Bon Jovi, so it's the same thing, right? Well, not really. This came from Bon Jovi's solo album, John Bon Jovi's solo album. So it's not technically from the band Bon Jovi. But of course, there's still musicians on it, and John Bon Jovi's still the lead singer since it's his solo artist, since it's his solo album. Most people kind of think of them as the same. Bon Jovi's solo stuff, Bon Jovi the band, everyone just kind of mixes them together. And in fact, you saw that on their first hit, Runaway. That was done, that was written, and originally performed solo by John Bon Jovi. It was the band's first hit from their first album. So we kind of think of them as almost the same. That's not always true. I mean, a lot of times if you have a group and one of the top guys goes off and does a solo career, it's not the same. You don't consider it the same. Even if their name is in the name of the band, it just doesn't. A lot of times the sound is different. They're going off to do their own solo career because they want to try out a different genre. They want to do a different style. And so it's really going to sound a lot different. That's not really the case with Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi, solo artist, John Bon Jovi, and Bon Jovi, the band, they're pretty much the same thing. I'm sure people who are big, huge Bon Jovi fans would disagree with me strongly because they'll look at all the little fine details and this is different and that performer is different and the style from that performer is different. Yes, there are definitely some differences between the two. But for the most part, it's the same general style. And again, Bon Jovi is the lead singer of both, obviously. So it's the same style. So technically, this is not a Bon Jovi song, Blaze of Glory, because it's from his solo album. But we're going to do this anyway. It came out in 1999, and it was actually written for and used in the movie Young Guns 2. It was very interesting because the folks that were doing Young Guns 2 actually wanted to use a different Bon Jovi song. And he thought, I don't think that song really works with the movie. So he wrote them a new song, and he wrote it in like 6 minutes. So he wrote this song very quickly. Okay, so let's get to the song. Let's go listen to it. As I always tell you, anyone listening to us on YouTube or watching us on YouTube, we cannot embed the video. So we're going to give you a link in the upper right corner. Please click on that and then jump back here once the video is over. Anyone who is just listening, we are allowed to just embed the music. So just keep listening and the song will play right through to you just fine. All right, so let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Okay, so that was Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi. So, first of all, what is the song even about? We didn't really talk about that too much in the first part. So, what the song is really about, it's about kind of living a crazy life. It's about living a wild life. That's why remember, I explained what Blaze of Glory means. So, he's going down in a blaze of glory. So he's always making his mark, doing crazy, wild things. So that's what the song is about. And it was kind of about, it's actually kind of about not really doing that anymore, because he wrote this song when he was starting to become a little bit more mature. Like I said, this song came out in 1999, so this is pretty late for him, especially for such a popular song. So he was, like I said, they were really popular in the late 80s. I mean, they did continue their popularity through the 1990s, but by 1999, yeah, this started to get a little less popular. Don't get me wrong, like I said, they were still quite popular. I mean, they're still popular now, and 1999 was 25 years ago. They're still popular. So, of course, they were quite popular even in 1999. But he was but they've been around a long time by then. Like I said, he started performing around, the band started in 83, but Bon Jovi started performing around 1980. So this was 20 years into his career. So he started to get more mature and wasn't living this crazy life anymore. So that's kind of why he wrote the song about this. And also it was supposed to match the movie. Movie is Young Guns. You can imagine it's about young people, young guns. So they're living crazy. So that's what the song's about. And he was very familiar with that because he used to live that way. Okay, so let's get to the lyrics. A lot of times I try to sing the lyrics. I don't think I can do that with this song. So I'll just read the lyrics. So we start out, I wake up in the morning and I raise my weary head. Weary means tired. So if someone says they're weary head, it just means they're tired. So he wakes up in the morning and he raises his weary head. I've got an old coat for a pillow and the earth was last night's bed. So in other words, the earth was last night's bed. He's sleeping on the ground outside. And he's got his coat for a pillow, his old coat for a pillow. I don't think we're talking about a homeless person here, because he's talking about kind of living a wild life. But whatever he was doing, he ended up outside, sleeping on the ground all night. Okay. I don't know where I'm going. Only God knows where I've been. I'm a devil on the run, a 6-gun lover, a candle in the wind. Okay. So I don't know where I'm going. Only God knows where I've been. So he is traveling around a lot. That's probably why he's sleeping outside. Doesn't want to pay for a hotel, probably doesn't have a job, doesn't have a lot of money, just living a crazy life. And it says, I'm a devil on the run. Okay. When you say you're a devil, it means you're probably doing some bad things. We usually use that. I mean, the devil, that's really bad, right? But we usually use that term a little bit affectionately. When we call someone a devil, it doesn't really mean they're that bad. But the way he's using it here, it probably does mean pretty bad. Especially since he says he's on the run. When you say that someone is on the run, it means they're trying to keep away from someone. A lot of times it might be the police, but it could just be an enemy you're trying to keep away from. And then it says a 6-gun lover. So that's pretty self-explanatory because he likes his guns. And when you say a candle in the wind, imagine what happens to a candle in the wind. It gets blown out. In fact, there's a song called "A Candle in the Wind," called "Candle in the Wind," and it's about someone dying too young. So he's talking about living life in a way that he could easily get himself killed. So again, wild life, wild life. And I don't think his life was quite this crazy. I don't think he was a devil on the run. But again, he's trying to match it up also with the movie that this is for. So this isn't going to be exactly what his life was like. I don't think Bon Jovi was ever quite this crazy. He did have a little bit of a wild period early in his career. But I don't remember him ever getting arrested or getting in any real big trouble. It wasn't anything too crazy. Okay, so then we get to the next verse. We do have a chorus here, but it's not. But it's kind of like almost like 2 verses and then the chorus. So we've got the next verse here. When you're brought into this world, they say you're born in sin. Well, at least they gave me something I didn't have to steal or have to win. Okay, so when you're brought into this world, they say you're born in sin. This is kind of a belief in Western culture, especially where they teach Christianity. It's believed that everyone is born sinful, even a little baby. Even a little baby is sinful. It's just the way you're born. It's It's just the human nature, because, and it has to do with the Christian belief, because they believe that you have to seek forgiveness from Jesus, and that's all part of the religion. And so everyone does. And since everyone does, even a little tiny baby has to. So that means you must be born with sin. Okay, but then he says, well, at least they gave me something I didn't have to steal or have to win. Okay, basically what that is saying to me, sometimes these words are a little hard to understand what the singer is trying to say. What that says to me is at least he wasn't born poor. So, his parents probably had a decent life. So he had a good start in his life. Even though he's living this crazy life, he had a good start. Okay, we continue on. Well, they tell me that I'm wanted. Yeah, I'm a wanted man. I'm a colt in your stable. I'm what Cain was to Abel, Mr. Catch Me If You Can. Okay. Well, they tell me that I'm wanted. That actually sounds good, right? This is kind of a tricky line here. If you're wanted, that's good, right? People want you. But then he continues on with the next line. Yeah, I'm a wanted man. That's a phrase we use when we say someone is a wanted man. They're wanted, all right. Yeah, they're wanted by the police. That's what that means. In other words, we go back to the I'm a devil on the run. So he's a criminal trying to get away from the police. I'm a colt in your stable. Okay, a colt is like a really energetic, kind of wild horse. They have a reputation for that. That's not what it actually means. A colt doesn't necessarily mean a wild horse, but they have but they're younger horses. They have a reputation for having a lot of energy and being a little wild. I'm what Cain was to Abel. So we have another reference here to religion. This comes from a Bible story. Cain and Abel were brothers, and Cain killed his brother Abel. So he's what Cain was to Abel. So he's the guy that's going to do the killing. He's going to kill his own brother. Then it says, Mr. Catch Me If You Can. So he's saying, that actually means what it sounds like. He's saying he is, that's why he says, Mr. Catch me if you can. Okay, that's kind of a saying we have, but it's one of these rare times that the saying means exactly what it says. Catch me if you can. Remember, the police are chasing him. That's kind of a taunt we use. A taunt is a way to kind of laugh at someone because they can't be successful against you. Like he knows they're never going to catch him. So catch me if you can, because he doesn't think he's ever going to get caught. He's kind of arrogant, and he thinks nobody's ever going to get him. Okay, then we get to the chorus. I'm going down in a blaze of glory. So there we have the saying, going down in a blaze of glory. Take me now, but know the truth. So take me now. So I guess someone finally did catch him, right? But know the truth. I'm going out in a blaze of glory. Lord, I never drew first, but I drew first blood. I'm no one's son. Call me Young Gun. Call me Young Gun. See, that's for the movie. That's the Young Guns. Okay, so he says, Lord, I never drew first, but I drew first blood. When he's talking about drawing, that's like when you pull a gun out, that's called drawing your gun. So he never drew first, but he drew first blood. When you draw first blood, it means that you injure the other person first. So I don't know if we're necessarily talking about guns. We could. He's talked about guns earlier. But if he doesn't draw first, it might be hard to be the one that draws first blood. So he may not necessarily be talking about a gunfight. He could just be talking about fighting. In other words, he doesn't start the fight because he doesn't draw first. But he finishes the fight. He draws first blood. You will get hurt if you get in a fight with him. And he says, I'm no one's son. Call me Young Gun. I think the reason he says I'm no one's son is, remember what we said in that verse, that previous verse, is that he came into this world in a good family. So his father is probably a good, decent, hardworking person. He's saying he's not like his father. He's his own guy. Call me Young Gun. Okay, we get to the next verse. You ask about my conscience, and I offer you my soul. You ask if I'll grow to be a wise man. Well, I ask if I'll grow old. So you ask about my conscience. Your conscience is the part in your brain that makes you feel guilty for doing bad things. So someone is asking him, does he feel bad? Does he feel guilty about all the stuff he's doing? And then he says, and I offer you my soul. When you offer someone your soul, it's like you're giving, your soul is like your most inner part. Like in religion, a lot of people will give their soul to whoever their God is. So offering someone your soul is like a very deep thing. So I'm not sure exactly what he means here by saying he offers them his soul, but basically he's being open with this person. Just like in the next line that we read, it says, you ask if I'll grow to be a wise man. In other words, are you going to ever get smart? Are you ever going to grow up and get smart? Wise means smart. And he says, well, I ask if I'll grow old. He doesn't even know if he's going to live long enough to be an old wise man. Never mind, get wise. Is he even going to be old? Okay, so we continue on. You ask me if I know love and what it's like to sing songs in the rain. Well, I've seen love come, and I've seen it shot down, and I've seen it die in vain. All right, so again, this person is kind of asking about, your life is so rough. Have you ever known love? When someone asks you if you've known love, it just means, have you ever had love in your life? Has he had like a true love, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend for that matter? Have you had someone that you've really loved? And what it's like to sing songs in the rain. Singing in the rain is a kind of a weird, kind of Western idea, where this is supposed to be some really dreamy, wonderful, nice thing to do. So it's really, if you're outside in the rain singing, it's not very fun. Even if you are singing, because you're getting wet, it's not very fun. But we have this image of that being a wonderful thing. So he's talking about, so the person asking these questions, it's basically just asking, do you have anything good in your life? And he says, well, I've seen love come. So he's like briefly had it, but then it gets shot down. When you talk about love getting shot down, it probably means he was shot down. When we say someone is shot down in love, that means they were rejected. So he probably had a girl that he loved, and she broke up with him. She left him. And then he says, I've seen it die in vain. When something is in vain, it means it's pointless. So he's seen love die in vain. So in other words, the girl then leaves him, and he gained nothing out of that. She's gone. He probably didn't learn any lessons from it. It's in vain. It was not worth anything. It was worthless. Okay. And now we go back to the chorus. It's exactly the same. Shut down a blaze of glory. So we'll go to the next verse. Last night I go to bed. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. No, I ain't looking for forgiveness, but before I'm 6 foot deep. Okay, we got a couple things there. Last night I go to bed. Okay. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Again, Western culture with Christianity. A lot of people will pray before they go to bed. I know even in Buddhism, a lot of people will do that before they go to bed, but it's even more common with Christianity. And a lot of people will say they pray the Lord their soul to keep. In other words, they want their soul to go to heaven if they die. He says he's not looking for forgiveness. Again, remember what I told you in the Christian faith, that everyone has to ask for forgiveness because we're all sinners. He's not even asking for that. But before I'm 6 foot deep, again, another American saying here, or Western saying, when you say 6 foot deep, it means dead. If you tell someone I'm going to bury you 6 foot deep, it means I'm going to kill you. So he's saying, but before I'm 6 feet deep, so before he's dead. Lord, I gotta ask a favor, and I hope you'll understand, because I've lived life to the fullest. Let the boy die like a man. So that's what he's asking the Lord for. He wants to die like a man. In other words, he's done a lot of living, lived hard, done a lot of crazy stuff. So, he could get himself in trouble somehow because of all that and have a really kind of cheap, meaningless death. Almost dying like a boy, like if someone catches him, and it's just really sad and pathetic. So he wants to die like a man. Okay, staring down the bullet, let me make my final stand. So he doesn't want to get shot in the back. That's kind of like considered not dying like a man because you're running away. So he wants to be facing whatever his problem is head on and taking it on straight. Okay, when you say take your final stand or make your final stand, as it says here, to make your final stand means that's it. It's your last fight before you die, probably. I mean, it doesn't have to be death. It could be a final stand in a sporting event, so you're not going to die. It's just your last chance to win the game. Like if you're playing soccer and you're losing by a goal and there's 30 seconds left, the ball is in your possession, you're coming down the field, the best player on your team has the ball, you're making your final stand. This is it. You got to go down there and score. Time's almost up. Okay. But in this case, we probably are talking about death because that's what the song is kind of about here. Okay. And that's really it. Sorry. We have 2 more lines left of that verse. No, we don't. That was it. Yeah. Let me make my final stand. So that's really it. He ends the song. We do have the chorus one more time, but he pretty much ends the song basically asking God to just let him die like a man. Because he knows he's probably going to die sometime. That's why he asked earlier, will he even grow old? Because his life is so crazy, he's probably going to get killed somehow, some way, doing something crazy. So he asked the Lord to just let him die like a man and let him make his final stand. And that's the song. So it sounds like a really morbid song, right? It's all about dying and crazy stuff. But it's actually not meant to be so negative. It's a really upbeat song. And when you talk about going out in a blaze of glory, which is the chorus, that's actually a good thing. I know it sounds bad, right? Because you're going out. You're going to get killed or you're going to lose the game or whatever. But to do it in a blaze of glory, that's considered a good thing. Glory is a good thing. It means like you'll be remembered well. That's glory. You'll be remembered well. So if you go out in a blaze of glory, that's a good thing. So this song sounds really kind of sad, morbid, whatever. It's really not. It's really not. And he's probably not actually a bad guy, even though he talks about being a devil on the run, and he's the Cain to Abel, catch me if you can, all that stuff. Because you notice he also says that he never drew first, but he drew first blood. But he never drew first. So anytime he's getting in a fight, it's probably something that someone else started. Anytime something bad happens, it's because someone else did something first. His reaction might be quite strong because he's going to do something bad in return. So he's not saying he's a good guy, but he may not be as bad as like the song sounds. Okay, so that's it. All right, so as we mentioned in part one, Bon Jovi's been around for a really long time, and they've pretty well retained their popularity. It has come off some in the last 20 years or so. But because they've been so popular for so long, like I said, this song, which was really popular, came out, almost 20 years after they'd been together, 20 years after Bon Jovi himself started performing, but the band got together a few years after he started. So this song has been around, so they've had 20 years where they were really popular. And again, they're still kind of popular. And they still make new music, not as much anymore, just because they have so much good music they've made before that when they're touring, I'm sure it gets boring for them. But of course, all of the fans want to hear a lot of these older songs. So they don't have, you won't hear some like top 10 hit from them coming out next week or something like that. No, their popularity has gone down enough so that that's not going to happen. They're probably not going to have any more huge hits for the rest of the time they're around. You never know. They could. Every once in a while, you get these crazy things that happen with a group. We just saw that over Christmas. There was, is it Jingle Bell Rock? I think it is. Jingle Bell Rock. I think it was Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell Rock. I think it was that song. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. I think it was that. I should know, right? Because I'm gonna tell you about a song that's really popular. I should know which song it is. But that got to number 1 in the charts over Christmas time. That song is like 50 years old, older than that, 60 years old, 70 years old. The person who sang it, I don't even think she's alive anymore since that song's so old. I'm almost certain she's not. That song is like 70 years old. She can't still be alive unless she's almost 100. So you never know. Crazy things can happen. Maybe they'll get another big hit, but probably not. Probably not. But even still, 20 years of making hits, they've got a lot of them. So we already mentioned Runaway. We talked about Blaze of Glory today. So some of their other big hits that they've had is Living on a Prayer. That might be Bon Jovi's biggest hit. Or maybe It's My Life might be. I don't know. You Give Love a Bad Name is another big one. Wanted, Dead or Alive. That's probably my second favorite song by them. Bad Medicine. And there's just a whole bunch more. I mean, the ones I mentioned are really big hits. I mean, those were all really big. They've got probably 24 really big hits. These are just some of the best ones. So this is just a sample. So as I always tell folks that are listening to this, go check out more of their music. If you like this song, go check out more music from Bon Jovi. And again, I don't think it matters too much whether you listen to the band or Bon Jovi's solo career. I think the style is quite similar. Again, people who are maybe his biggest fans will probably yell at me for saying that. They're going to say, no, this is different. That's different. There certainly are some differences. with his solo and even I can tell the difference, even though I'm not the biggest Bon Jovi fan. Even I can tell the difference. For example, in his solo career, he doesn't usually have the same degree of backing musicians, so you don't get the same kind of full sound behind him, which is fine because it's more maybe about him singing. That's why it's his solo career. So you get more of the vocal in there, which is I don't have a problem with. Like I said, this is probably my favorite song by him, and this was from his solo career. So there's definitely there certainly are some differences there, but I think the overall genre, the tone of the songs is very similar. So it doesn't matter whether you listen to his solo stuff or the full band. It's all really good. I will tell you this, he got so popular that it was one of these types of he's one of these types of artists where there's actually backlash. So for a time, it was almost like people would make fun of you for being a Bon Jovi fan. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't. And I'm someone who doesn't usually like the most popular bands. So I would maybe even normally be one of those people that are making fun of people for hopping on to this. It's almost like we call that a bandwagon effect when everyone joins in just because your friends like it, you've got to like it too. We see that a lot with music. Three people over here like this group, and so the fourth person, oh yeah, I really love the group, even though they really don't. And you get that effect going on, and so it's like this fake popularity a lot of times when groups get really, really, really huge. A lot of their popularity is not even real, and it's one of the reasons their popularity falls off so hard once they start becoming less popular. That's why, because a lot of their popularity wasn't even real. And then one of the reasons why Bon Jovi has come off kind of a little bit more gently and is still popular today is because their popularity was real. I don't know why people made fun of them. They're a darn good band. So go check out more of their music. Enjoy it. It's worth listening to, at least if you like this genre of music. Some people think this is a little too heavy, a little too rock and roll. But if you like this genre of music, go check out more from Bon Jovi. All right. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical music.